Hey everybody, I'm Ashley, and I'm going to talk about my journey, I guess, with rheumatoid arthritis. So I'm 23 right now. It started when I was 20 years old, so that was 2015. So I was working at Sears, just doing basic folding shit, putting everything up. I wasn't a cashier, but I would get in the cash register if they were super busy or whatever. Pretty much right at the beginning of February, I started waitressing at a sushi restaurant. Between both jobs, I was working about 45 to 60 hours every week was about the average. So after about 2 weeks of doing that, obviously when I started working retail, I already had foot pain because you're on your feet. Goddamn, you're on your feet all day. Everyone has fucking foot pain. But yeah, obviously it got worse because I was working more hours. And then 2 weeks into it, you'd think you'd kind of start getting used to it. It would dull out a little bit, but it just kind of kept getting worse. And then I also started getting pretty sore in my hands, kind of all in my fingers and in my wrist and everything. At the beginning of March, I quit Sears, and just started waitressing because, it wasn't getting any better. I had to stop something. And obviously I was making more money waitressing, so. So yeah, I quit Sears the first week of March, and then the pain just kind of kept getting worse. Over the next, the first 3 weeks of March, it kept getting worse in my feet and my hands and everything, and then it also started to move out to my knees. The last week of March, first week of April, it went up into my hips, and then the next week, it went up, kind of all the way up into my arms, into my elbows, and my shoulders, and everything. And then about 2 days after it hit my shoulders, it was in my neck, and then the next day after that, it was all down my back. So, literally from here to my feet, to my toes. And I kind of just tried to write it off for a really long time. And just, say I need to, take better care of my body, do some more stretching, I don't know, fucking work out so work doesn't take all of my energy and everything. Dang. This is actually bringing up a little bit more emotion than I thought it would, not gonna lie. But yeah, I really tried to kind of ignore it and write it off and just hope it would get better for as long as I could. I just, didn't really want to admit that I had a problem and I couldn't do the shit that I wanted to do anymore. My mom put me in dance, before I turned 2, so I did that my whole life. I did gymnastics for a little while, I was in color guard. So yeah, it was just really hard to believe that it was really happening, I guess. But yeah, so eventually I went to the doctor, probably about the time that it got into my hips, probably around there, I went to the doctor for the first time. And at the time, I actually worried that I had diabetes because I had the start of a UTI. I got tested for it, but by that time I had drank enough water that it was kind of out of my system, so it showed up negative. But one of the symptoms of that is peeing a lot, and one of the common symptoms of diabetes is starting to pee more frequently. So that was the only thing I could guess, but what had actually happened is because I was in so much pain, much more pain than I actually wanted to admit, I literally wouldn't get up for a while when I had to pee, so I would sit there and wait until I really had to pee and it was worth the pain of getting up. So yeah, I started to get a UTI from doing that because you're not supposed to fucking hold your pee like that. So I originally went to the doctor for that, and they did some tests and everything came back negative. And then probably the next week, because that would be when it would have gotten into my neck and my back and everything, I went back again and I thought maybe I had fibromyalgia, which is actually in your muscles, not your joints, which seems weird. You'd think I'd be able to tell that the pain was in my joints and not my muscles. But I mean, honestly, at that point, like, I couldn't tell where it was coming from. Everything just fucking hurt. Like, they would ask me, and I'm like, everything. Like, is it in your joints? I'm like, sure. So they did more tests at that point, and my numbers were through the roof. My SED rate was like triple what it's supposed to be. Obviously my RA factor was, well, they do that two ways. They do it, some people do it just positive or negative, and then some have an actual number, but initially it was positive was all they did, and then later when I got into an actual rheumatologist, they did the rheumatoid factor, and the number was, I think, like double or something like that. So I did that, and they diagnosed me, because that was, you know, pretty obvious blood work. So, I mean, I got pretty lucky there. Probably because it was so bad so quick is really the only reason I got diagnosed so quickly. Most people, or, I mean, I don't know if I would say most people, but a lot of people with not just rheumatoid arthritis, but with a lot of different diseases, similar, like any kind of debilitating or whatever, they, you know, search and search, go back to doctors and doctors and doctors over and over again, and people tell them it's in their head, they don't know what it is, they tell them it's one thing, it's not that thing, later they find out it's something else and start treating that thing, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, at least I fucking knew what I had, and that was that. So we tried to get into a rheumatologist. I didn't have insurance at the time, so it was, I mean, normally to get into a specialist, it probably takes a little bit longer, but without insurance, it definitely takes longer. So it was going to take 3 months to get into a rheumatologist, and that, obviously, when you have pain from in all of your body, that seems like a really long time. So I was like, okay, cool, I guess I'll wait it out then. And then I wait a few weeks, and I'm still living with my parents at the time. My mom was an RN, so like she has a pretty good knowledge base of everything. So she was, you know, kind of looking at everything, checking it out, make sure nothing was like too crazy. But my hands started swelling really bad. So one, which they're actually still a little bit swollen, not very much, they probably don't look it, but I actually have really skinny fingers. Oh, another thing I should mention. When this started, from start to finish, I dropped like 30 to 40 pounds, just for no reason, really. I guess just because of, you know, like the stress on my body, and then also I wasn't eating as much because I didn't have an appetite, again, because of the stress on my body, and two, just getting up to do anything seemed so daunting, like, I didn't want to do anything, even eat, so that definitely didn't help. So, already there, I could only close them about this much. Yeah, about right here is as far as I could close my hand. Like that's, I couldn't make a fist. I could only get them to like right here. And then, so yeah, they were really swollen. So this is them right now. My middle finger, see this is a little swollen on the knuckle right here. And that probably came out a good 2, maybe even 3 millimeters on both sides. Honestly, at the worst of it. So, I mean, this was always really swollen. I would usually always have a little pocket right here on this part of my wrist of fluid that would just, you know, fluid from everywhere would just kind of gather right there, and those would be on both sides. Another common thing is nodules. They're these like hard, they almost feel like cysts, but they're not, you couldn't like pop them or anything, like they're solid. But yeah, I would get those a lot in my elbows, and then I had one in my finger for a little while. That one was super uncomfortable. My elbows weren't painful, but that one was a little painful. Yeah, I had some on my knees, Yeah. Oh, but where I was going with my hands. So, the swelling in my hands had started happening. And then, the swelling honestly felt like really hard. Like, it felt like there was bone right there. And my mom and I both thought I was like already getting joint damage in those, which turns out I'm not. It doesn't actually happen that quickly. Thank God. But I mean, I was on the way there. So after a couple weeks of waiting the 3 months, my mom took me back to my regular doctor and, you know, showed him my hands, and he like looked at them and how much worse they had gotten. And also at this point I was honestly, I was walking like a 90-year-old with a walker, just like minus the walker. My hands were at my side, but my arms would still be bent because like everything was, I couldn't straighten them out. My elbows would be locked up. Like there would be too much fluid in there to straighten them all the way out. So, I mean, they were like I was holding a walker just by my side. I'm laughing at that, but it's legit. So it was pretty bad. I couldn't like get on and off the floor. Oh god. So to sit onto the toilet, I couldn't actually bend down far enough with my own strength to like hold myself up while I'm sitting down onto the toilet. So I just had to like bend my legs and sit back as far as I could, and then just like fall a good like 6 inches or so onto the toilet to sit onto it. So yeah, obviously any hope of like trying to sit on the floor or something that's not gonna happen. Sleeping was obviously really hard. I would only sleep like a couple hours at a time. Yeah, it would take a really long time to get to sleep because it would just be hard to find a position that, I mean, I couldn't find a comfortable position. I would just try to find the position that hurt the least. And then after a while of being in that position, that's going to start hurting, so I'd wake up every like hour to 2 hours and have to move over, which I would wake up, I would sit there for probably like 5 or 10 minutes in the middle of the night, and then finally just like trying to decide if it's worse to stay in that position and try to go back to sleep, or if taking the temporary worse pain of moving over to a different position, probably just like from one side to the other side normally. If that temporary pain was worth the temporary relief of then getting to the other side and having that not hurt as much for a little while. But I mean, even just trying to lift the sheet, not even the sheet and like the comforter or blanket or anything, just a flat sheet, trying to lift it to turn over in bed hurt so bad. Like it was literally excruciating. Like it would be like literally like it would have to be like this slow of a movement because it hurt. It's hard to even believe now because I mean I'm so much fucking better now. It's so hard to believe that there was a point that I could feel that bad and be okay now. But yeah, it happened. So yeah, my mom took me back to the doctor, and he was like, aw shit, this is getting super bad, super quick. We gotta do something about this, because you can't wait no 3 months. Obviously he didn't say it like that. So he actually went ahead and prescribed me methotrexate, along with folic acid, which just helps the methotrexate not be as shitty on your body. So, methotrexate comes with a symptom or side effect list that is ginormous, and incredibly scary. And I already don't like medicine very much. I'm always really stubborn, like when I'm like have sore muscles or something from dancing or color guard or whatever. I didn't never want to take ibuprofen unless it was like pretty bad. And just like I didn't want to take Sudafed if I had like a cold or something or whatever. And my mom actually has a lot of health problems. Actually a couple autoimmune diseases as well, which are rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease, so they're all kind of in like the same little family of diseases, which is a whole another topic because nobody really knows anything about those. So yeah, my mom's always been on a pretty decent amount of medicine, and I just really didn't want to do that because, I mean, there's definitely a place for medicine, obviously. There's nothing wrong with taking medicine. It helps a lot of fucking people with a lot of things. But it does do harm to your body. You are harming things while you're also trying to fix things. And there's just so many things wrong with the health industry and the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry. Or agricultural industry, really. And it's just all really fucked up. I just kind of want to stay away from it as much as possible. So having to take a medicine that's that shitty for you sucked a lot, and I hated it. And it also made me feel like shit. It lessened my appetite even more, so I mean that probably added to losing all the fucking weight that I did so quickly. But I mean, at the same time, it did help some of my symptoms, it helped some of the pain, some of the swelling go down, all of that jazz. So yeah, thankfully I didn't have to take that very long. I got into a good rheumatologist. I actually moved to Nashville. But yeah, I like my rheumatologist. He knows I don't like medicine, so he doesn't try to like push anything on me. I guess I'll like give you a lowdown on what's going on now. So I take 3 different immunosuppressants. I'm on, I mean I tried a few before I got here, but I'm on Xeljanz is the main one. And then I'm also on leflunomide, a low dose, and then sulfasalazine is the 3rd one, and then I also take a really small dose of prednisone just for inflammation. Yeah, and that's all the medicine I take. Hopefully it won't be that much for longer. So I guess right now it's September of 2018, and I had an appointment with my rheumatologist a couple of weeks ago actually, and so they take a score based on how many joints are sore, and then like how well you think you're doing, how much pain you've had in the past, you know, however much time, yada yada yada. So my score at my last appointment was a remission score. So I'm in remission now. Yeah. So just over 3 years later. You know, I feel a lot better, I have a lot more energy, my energy is still pretty shot. That's honestly one of the worst problems, is not even the pain, but just the lack of energy. Like, you're always tired. I would just go to work, and I would come home, and I would get in bed, and I would watch Netflix, and usually I would honestly just take a nap, then I would get up, I would make dinner, we would eat, and then I would go to bed. Those were my days. That was about all I could do most of the time, which freaking sucked. But yeah, I definitely do have a lot more energy now. I still need a lot more energy. I've got a lot of shit I want to do. I've gotten really into like energy healing, mostly Reiki. That's kind of what I connect with most right now, but I'd like to learn a lot of different things over time. I'm kind of just really optimistic right now. I actually have an Etsy shop It's pretty cool. I just kind of like make whatever I feel like and put it on there, and it's fun. So I guess I just kind of wanted to share my experience, and I don't know, I just kind of felt like I needed to. Felt like it might help some people. You know, I was at a place not that long ago where I felt really, really bad, and I did not know if I was gonna get better. I never thought that swelling in my hands was gonna go down. Like, literally, even I said that to my rheumatologist. I told him, at one appointment, he was looking at my fingers and noticed, and I was like, yeah, I honestly didn't ever think that swelling was gonna go down. And he was like, yeah, I didn't know if it would either. And I was like, shit, this shit was bad. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, it can get better. You can be really shitty, and you can be in a really unhealthy, crappy place, and you can get yourself out of it. Yeah. Okay, I guess that's it. Bye.